Robert K. Kraft, the owner of the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots, was charged with 2 counts of soliciting sex. Robert K. Kraft, the billionaire owner of the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots, was charged on Friday with 2 counts of soliciting sex as part of a wide-ranging investigation into prostitution and suspected human trafficking in South Florida. The charges against Mr. Kraft, 77, in Jupiter, Florida, came after the police used video surveillance to observe activity inside several day spas and massage parlors. The police said that the parlors were used for prostitution, and that many of the women involved were considered to be victims. The investigation involved multiple law enforcement agencies, and resulted in raids and arrests connected to nearly a dozen businesses in the region. At least one person, Lanyon Ma, 49, was charged with human trafficking. More than 24 men, ranging in age from 34 to 81, have been arrested, hundreds have been charged, the police said. A spokesman for Mr. Kraft and the Patriots released a statement, saying, "We categorically deny that Mr. Kraft engaged in any illegal activity. Because it is a judicial matter, we will not be commenting further." Mr. Kraft was said to have patronized a spa called Orchids of Asia in Jupiter, a small storefront business in a strip mall that also includes a nail salon, a surf shop and a Thai restaurant. The police said Mr. Kraft visited twice, dropped off by a driver. The mall, anchored on one end by an Outback Steakhouse, is near lushly landscaped gated communities, a half-dozen golf courses and the spring training home of the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. Mr. Kraft is the most prominent name to emerge in the case, and the charges represent an embarrassing spectacle for a man who has become one of the most powerful owners in American sports. He is a leading voice in the NFL's small fraternity of billionaire owners, a member of the committee that sets Commissioner Roger Goodell's salary and a friend and political benefactor of President Trump. In addition, the legal problems may place Mr. Goodell in the uncomfortable position of having to mete out some kind of punishment for the personal conduct of a man who is essentially one of his bosses. The NFL's constitution gives Mr. Goodell broad authority to hold players and owners accountable for conduct he deems detrimental to the league. Previous punishments have included fines and suspensions, which prohibit owners from being at their team facilities or attending games. The NFL is aware of the ongoing law enforcement matter and will continue to monitor developments, the league said in a statement. As the league commissioner in 1999, Paul Tagliabue fined Edward J. DeBartolo Jr., who owned the San Francisco 49ers, $1 million and suspended him for a season after he pleaded guilty for failing to report a felony arising from a gambling fraud and extortion case. More recently, Mr. Goodell suspended Jim Irsay, the owner of the Indianapolis Colts, who has battled substance abuse, for 6 games and fined him $500,000 after he pleaded guilty to driving while impaired. The case involving Mr. Kraft is more complicated. The unmarried owner has been charged with 2 misdemeanors, not felonies, and those charges may be reduced or dropped, but Mr. Goodell has long portrayed himself as a defender of the league's reputation, and he has penalized players and owners for a host of offenses, some of which might have been little noticed years earlier. All of the sexual encounters that have resulted in charges were videotaped as part of the prostitution investigation, the police said. Investigators, who have been conducting surveillance of massage parlors in the area for 6 months, charged nearly 200 people, though only a fraction have been arrested so far. For years, Mr. Kraft has been considered a kind of first among equals in the ranks of the 32 NFL owners. He has led the league's powerful broadcast and finance committees, and often touted his status as a confidant to Mr. Goodell. Within owner and executive circles he is known as the Assistant Commissioner, with no small hint of resentment. Mr. Kraft had fashioned himself as a kind of ordinary Patriots fan who in the 1970s Saturday with his sons in the frigid bleachers of Section 217 of what was originally called Schaefer Stadium. He made his fortune in the paper and packaging business, purchased the land adjacent to the stadium complex in the 1980s, and eventually the stadium itself. This positioned Mr. Kraft to buy the Patriots in 1994 after James Orthwein put the team up for sale. Other bidders included Stan Kroenke, the current owner of the Los Angeles Rams, and the businessman Donald J. Trump, the former owner of the New Jersey Generals of the United States Football League. Mr. Kraft paid $172 million for the Patriots, the highest price paid for an NFL team at the time. His public identification with the Patriots, the NFL's preeminent 21st-century dynasty, has given Mr. Kraft entree into a world of celebrity friends, beautiful young women, Hollywood award spectacles and high roller events. The team won its sixth Super Bowl title on February 3, defeating the Los Angeles Rams, 13-3, in Atlanta. Mr. Kraft attended the NBA All-Star Game festivities in Charlotte, North Carolina, last weekend, where he hobnobbed courtside with LeBron James while wearing a Diamond Championships necklace that the rapper Meek Mill gave him at a Super Bowl after-party. In 2017, Mr. Kraft attended a private dinner with Mr. Trump and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe of Japan, at Mar-a-Lago, Mr. Trump's club in Palm Beach, Florida. The Patriots have played in 10 Super Bowls since Mr. Kraft bought the team, winning 6 of them. The team has sold out every regular season and exhibition game since 1994, and sits near the top of the league in revenue. Friends said he was set particularly adrift after the death of Myra Kraft, his wife of nearly 5 decades, to cancer, in 2011. "I cried myself to sleep every night for a year after my wife died, until I met my girlfriend," Mr. Kraft said in a 2017 interview. The girlfriend was Ricky Noel Lander, an actress and dancer who then was in her early 30s, and whom Mr. Kraft has been dating off and on since.